That's what ambiguity does. It makes us feel uncomfortable. Because the world is changing rapidly. It took 2.4 million years from the time that we invented fire until the time that we figured out how to use it to cook. So back then, things didn't change so much. So our reaction to change was to look for certainty. And that's what we search for. We look for certainty. But when we're faced with change and ambiguity, it's like a riptide. When we're in a riptide, we don't even know we're in it at first. See these people here? You can see the riptides there because you can see the sand is kind of churned up, and there's a group out back there, and they don't even know. They're just swimming along, and all of a sudden they'll look and be like, wait, I'm far from shore. Where am I? Then they react with what's worked in the past. What do most people do when they're caught in a riptide? They swim directly into the riptide, right? They try to swim back to shore, back to safety. But even an Olympic swimmer cannot outswim a riptide. So what happens is they could get exhausted, they could drown. But what you're supposed to do in a riptide is know you're in it and allow it to take you. Because it could take you back to shore, it could take you to a sandbar, or you could wave and Baywatch maybe comes and saves you. And that's our response to change. A lot of times we don't know that we're feeling this change. It happens all of a sudden we realize, wait, I'm being swept out to the ocean. I need to get back to shore. And so what our instincts are is to swim against that riptide back to shore, when what we need to do is stop and consider what are our options, and then we can find a new way forward in ambiguity. The first thing you need to do is know you're in the riptide. You need to recognize that the water's getting cold, that the shore is receding. You need to look around and notice, because sometimes we don't even know when we're being swept away in the emotions of change. Start to really be mindful and know, okay, am I feeling uncertain? Is this initiative going to be very stressful? Is a lot of change and ambiguity? Then I need to know that I'm going to start having these reactions, and I'm going to want to swim back to shore. I'm going to want to do what we did last time. What are the things that we do that we've always done that we're going to want to do because we're feeling this ambiguity? The second thing is, once we know we're in the riptide, we need to stop and be mindful and be like, okay, there's a lot of change. I'm feeling uncertain. This is not the time to react, because we're going to want to do that. But what we need to do is stop and recognize that we're probably not going to die, especially if we're managing some complex initiative, if we don't make a decision right away. And that takes incredible mindfulness. So what we can do there is look for data and evidence and start to analyze the pieces. Instead of just trusting our gut and reacting, what are the data and pieces that we need to know that are going to fill in the gaps so that we can make a good decision? The third thing we need to do is, when we're mindful and we know we're in that riptide and we're feeling swept away, is to then think, well, what are my options? I could swim back to shore, but I know that that's a bad idea. I've collected the data. Or maybe I just let it take me out to wherever it's going to take me, and maybe it'll take me to a sandbar, or it'll take me back to shore. Or maybe I should wave and try to find some, like a lifeguard, hitch a ride on a dolphin maybe. What are my options? Think of new and creative options to move forward to get you out of that riptide of change.